The plaintiff, Charles Copeland, claims he was injured when the defendant clipped his rear bumper. The defendant, Howie Stretch Long, believes the plaintiff is trying to put an illegal move on his wallet. It's the case of the fender defender.
I know you've all been sworn, and I have read your complaint, sir. Would you please tell me what happened in this accident?
Sure, Your Honor. I was sitting at a red light, minding my own business, when these two come plowing into me from behind.
Your Honor, that's not how it went at all. This guy's crazy.
Mr. Bradshaw, sit down. Obviously, you disagree with his statement. Now, tell me what your version of it is.
Your Honor, to be perfectly honest, we're a little surprised at all this. Terry and I were sitting at a red light when Mr. Copeland's car backed into my car.
That is a very serious accusation. The man is in obvious pain. All you have to do is look at him. Did you witness the accident, Mr. Bradshaw?
Well,
Don't hesitate so much as just tell me.
Your Honor, there was a store across the street from me, and they had these jack-o'-lanterns. They were cut out into the shape of Dolly Parton.
So you didn't witness the car hitting you?
Well, Your Honor, I didn't actually witness it, but I felt this jolt. I'm telling you, somebody could have gotten hurt.
Obviously. But how do you know that it wasn't Mr. Long who was at fault here?
Howie? He would have told me.
He would have told you.
Killing us.
What did you say, Mr. Long?
Oh, I was just admiring Rusty's 357 Magnum in his finely pressed uniform, Your Honor.
You've got to be kidding.
See what I mean, Your Honor? These professional athletes think they can get away with anything.
After 32 years on the bench, this is the clearest case that I've ever heard. And I think I'm going to make a ruling right now.
Hey, Terry Mason, great trick. Where'd you get that one?
Old episode of the Brady Bunch.
You mean where Mike got Carol off?
Yeah, that one. You saw it? That's must be. Mine, too.
From what I've observed in this courtroom, Mr. Copeland, you are a fraud and a phony. And I find for the defendants, judgment for the defendants. Mr. Bradshaw, please approach the bench. My bailiff has just handed me a piece of paper here saying that you have a speeding ticket. Mr. Bradshaw, I want you to pay that ticket, and I want you to walk out of here and take Mr. Long with you.
But Mr.
Goodbye.
He was the one driving the... You were the one driving the T-Bird. How come I always get stuck with a tab, huh? Every time we get into trouble...
Week number 9, midway point of the race to the playoffs. The dark horses emerge. The sprinters fade. Pro football's thoroughbreds show their bloodlines, and Fox has it all. After his concussion, a fuzzy Aikman tries to focus on the Bengals. Big Daddy got sack number 1, but Susie's still searching for his first victory. Sizzling hot Sanders smooths the way for Team Motown's #1 ground game, while Mr. Brown tries to recover from his last hit. For Minnesota, if practice makes perfect to the Vikings power boys, Craig could be following Sam to another defeat. The Eagle-O has soared to the NFC's mountaintop, but it's the D that landed on Schuler last time. Now, they'll go for it against Gutty Gus Farrat. All right, order in the court. Live from Hollywood, it's 4 judges who know how to rock the halls of football justice. The hosts of Fox NFL Sunday.
And there's Troy Aikman, second-best quarterback rating in the league, who's already touched 9 touchdown passes as he's getting set to face the Cincinnati Bengals. You recall Troy suffered a concussion in last week's win over Arizona, but he claims that he is ready to go today. And welcome to Fox NFL Sunday. I'm James Brown, and it is indeed great to have you alongside as we round the halfway point in this hotly contested NFL season. Now, this week, the NFC West gets the bye, leaving just Washington and Indianapolis as the only 2 teams that have yet to enjoy a week off. And joining me today in the studio are some men who need no defending. Hey, look here, Judge Wapner could make an excellent NFL ref.
Oh, Judge, hey, that old man was tough, wasn't he, Howie? He was mean. I had to pay the fine, Jimmy.
Pretty good. You said you fed him the lines, though.
Yeah, I did. Well, you do have to give
Hey,
it to him.
And they
13 years that show ran. Judge Wapner, syndication. Big bucks.
Big bucks. Now, they claim a guy who defends himself has a fool for a lawyer, Highway. Is that the case now?
Well, no, I'm a bigger fool. I had Terry representing me.
Okay, and also joining us,
Well, where is
look at Jimmy Johnson.
I mean, we tease this 1 week with this guy, then he takes a week off. I don't know about the guy that carved that pumpkin. I bet he had a headache trying to figure that baby out. Coach, how you doing?
Pretty good. We had a little rain down here in Florida, so I put my Halloween shirt on, came inside.
I hate to hear that. Look, your hair's not going to fall down because all that water pouring in Florida, is it?
I got an ulcer worrying about that weather.
Oh, look at you guys. We got plenty of time to beat up on Jimmy, and we'll do that as well. But it is now time to check out what's happening around the National Football League, where the topic is quarterback protection. Arizona linebacker Wilbur Marshall won't be fined for his hit on Troy Aikman that gave Aikman not only a concussion, but a hole in his tongue. Aikman's hit was similar to the one delivered by Fred Stokes on Jeff George earlier this year. Stokes, by the way, wasn't fined on that play either. Now, in both instances, as with Stokes' hit on George, the defensive player had his head up when contact was initiated. Now, that makes the hit legal. Last week, you recall, Aikman was rolling out of the pocket. Take a look here. Wilbur Marshall hits him, and he hits him in the chest first. Marshall says, what's all the noise? It's got to be about dollars.
He got a lot of money invested in Troy. He wants everybody from now on to pull up on Troy. Now, if the league do that, this is not a football game. People are going to go at it. People are going to play, because that's how it is. They go after our quarterback, and you play. If you're going to roll out, you got to expect to get hit.
Now, despite Marshall's sentiments, the league is very concerned about these type of hits on quarterbacks. And NFL sources told Fox that the Aikman play will be reviewed by the competition committee after the season. They'll be considering rule changes to further protect the league's biggest stars, of course, the quarterbacks. And, oh, what a coincidence. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is a member of the competition committee. Jerry says that he doesn't want to put skirts on quarterbacks, but he doesn't want them treated like running backs either. Now, you can expect fireworks at the NFL owners meeting in Chicago this week. That man, Jerry Jones, whose Cowboys generate 30% of all sales of NFL merchandise, wants to increase his share of the revenues from NFL properties. Currently, all 28 teams share all merchandising and network TV revenue equally. Now, even with the coming expansion, realignment appears to be a dead issue unless Arizona owner Bill Bidwell agrees to move out of the NFC East. A Cardinal move to the NFC West could start a ripple effect that would see as many as 6 teams changing divisions. And now it's time for our Fox Watch, a look, of course, at the games that you'll be watching on Fox today. We begin in Cincinnati, where Joe Buck is set up to update us on the Cowboys' injury problems. Joe?
All right, JB, thank you very much. It is a gorgeous day here in Cincinnati, where the Cowboys, despite their record of 6-1, have to regroup after an emotional week, which began last Sunday in Arizona on this vicious hit by Wilbur Marshall on Troy Aikman, Troy's 4th concussion in his professional career. And that evoked memories of Roger Staubach, whose career was cut short due to concussions. Aikman never thought, however, that he'd miss this game.
Team doctors advised me that I wasn't going to do that, and so I stayed out the second half of last week's game, and so I knew after the game had ended that I'd be ready to play by this week.
A change for Troy Aikman in that for the first time in his pro career, he will wear a mouthpiece on his lower teeth to help protect against the concussion. Something else we need to show you from the Schutt Sports Group, who makes the helmet that Troy Aikman wears, not only the helmet with extra protection, but now a face mask with more protection, which goes deeper on his face and allows him better protection for the chin to guard against the concussion. One other change for Dallas, in that Eric Williams is lost for the rest of the regular season because of that vicious car accident. Rookie Larry Allen will make his first NFL start at right tackle here today. That's all from Cincinnati right now. We send you to Washington. Here's Dick Stockton.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. The Eagles and Redskins have had a recent past of playing tight games. In fact, look at their last 6. The Eagles have dominated, winning 4, but never more than a 4-point margin. Well, anyway, the big story here is that the new darling of the Capital Gang is a man named Gus Frerotte, the quarterback who engineered a win over Indianapolis last week. In fact, his parents and friends drove over from Ford Cliff, Pennsylvania, and they hope the Redskins can win their first game of the year here at RFK. And Orv Turner says the musical chairs may end at quarterback. He's going to stick with Frerotte for quite a while. And today, a very big test against Bud Carson and the Philadelphia Eagles defense. That's the story here. We'll see how Frerotte does. Let's send you right down to Giant Stadium in Pat Summerall.
All right, Dick, thank you very much. A beautiful day here as well. Injuries, unfortunately, play a big part as we reach the midday part of the season. First of all, there are 3 teams, San Francisco, Dallas, and Minnesota, who seem to be in charge of their division. Then there's the rest of the pack, 2 of whom will face each other here today. The Giants against the Detroit Lions, both with records of 3 and 4. Now to the subject of those injuries. First of all, for the Lions, for the Giants, I beg your pardon, Philippi Sparks did not even dress. He was injured in practice on Thursday, and his place will be taken by Thomas Randolph.
For the Lions, Mark Spindler did not even make the trip, so he obviously is out of action. There are two other question marks for Detroit, both of whom showed up at Giants Stadium earlier this morning to work out and see if they could go today against the Giants.
I'll give it a try. I'm not as slow as I thought of it, but there's a difference in doing it with him and going against somebody like Jumbo.
Yeah. Somebody like Jumbo is indeed not air at all. Another question mark for the Lions would be at cornerback, where Ryan McNeil was scheduled to be the starter. He came out earlier with Fortier, and his workout was not satisfactory, so he won't play. Milton Mack will take his place. Two teams, 3-4 records, but certainly we're going to see the best runner in professional football today in Barry Sanders. That's the story from Giant Stadium. Back to Hollywood, James Brown.
All right, Pat, thank you very much. And Barry Sanders certainly is worth the price of admission. Now, for those of you not getting one of the early games, you'll be seeing the first-place Minnesota Vikings take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs will return to Craig Erickson as a starting quarterback, that after Trent Dilfer struggled mightily last week against the San Francisco 49ers. And as we come back inside the studio here, Terry, we talked about, again, that New York Giants game against the Detroit Lions. A lot to criticize of the Giants about the offensive line problems, young Dave Brown having his share of problems, the running game not back to where it belongs. But what is there constructive to talk about?
Well, Jimmy, you really have hit it right on the head. When you think about the Giants and a brand-new young quarterback, the first thing you do is, what can we do to help him? Well, this is last year, don't forget, 93, the Giants were the NFL's #1 rushing football team, which is ideal for a young quarterback because obviously it does take a lot of pressure off him. This year, they are not running the football. Hampton went barely 50 yards rushing last week. They're terrible in third down conversions and ranked 26th in the NFL. They haven't scored any points in the last 3 games in the second half. And inside the 20, which is where they worked all week long on Brown scoring, throwing touchdown passes, they are also, one of the worst. You can't run it for a young quarterback, and if you can't protect him, then you really do put a lot of pressure. Dave Brown, I think, is going to be a fine quarterback. He needs help, Coach Johnson. I don't know what you're seeing, but I think it's not all Dave Brown's fault. How about you?
Well, Terry, I think Dave Brown's going to be fine. He started off fine, but he's been struggling and going downhill ever since. And when you look at the Giants, you know, when they're last in total offense behind the winless Cincinnati Bengals, there's problems there. But as a coach, you want to find a solution. I think the solution is to hire a coach who's played the position, played quarterback, to work with young Dave Brown. Even Dave Brown mentioned, he said he'd like to have someone like Steve Spurrier still working with him. And I don't think it's anything against the coaches they have, but I think they need to have one-on-one working with that young quarterback.
Yeah, Jimmy, I agree with what you're saying, but, you know, I think Dave Brown's getting a lot of unfair criticism. I think too much is being put on his shoulders. They're not running the ball well. Rodney Hampton, in my mind, has some residual effect of the kidney injury. The offensive line's not pass blocking well. They're not run blocking well. They're not running the ball. Play-action passes can't help out. There's enough blame to go around on that team. It doesn't have to rest on Dave Brown. Dave Brown is the future quarterback of the Giants.
Plus, people have a book on him now. They have a book on young Brown. They know what he can and can't do.
And speaking of problems, while they play Detroit today, Dallas coming up next. Giants could lose 6th Street. Even Ray Hanley didn't do that. All right, fellas, we'll continue that conversation in a bit now. That's a look at what's happening around the NFL. Here's a look at what's happening on tap for today's show.
Today on Fox, NFL Sunday.
Hey, this coach has the Vikings marching to the beat of a different drummer, and Minnesota fans are jamming right along with Dennis Green's first-place team. Lonnie Lardner takes a look at all that jazz. Last time they met, it was for the AFC crown. Today, 2 second-place thoroughbreds are looking to make their moves to start the NFL's stretch run. Eric Clemens reports on the Chiefs and Bills live from Rich Stadium. Last week, this 7th-round pick from Tulsa went from Gus Who to Gus for real. Is this Farrat's 15 minutes of fame, or will he become Washington's long-term man of the hour? James Brown updates the Gus Farrat phenomenon. Coming at you, only on Fox NFL Sunday.
Get over the bats. Welcome back to Fox NFL Sunday. By now, we all know the profile, the coach who eats, drinks, and sleeps in his office. And as is her habit, Lonnie Lardner has found a winning coach with a different way to jazz up not only his life, but his team.
You got it, JB. This is a man who takes his downtime seriously. Vikings coach Denny Green may be more famous for his coaching skills and his musical gifts, but spend some time with this self-proclaimed Type A personality, and you quickly see that he really does practice what he preaches, saying balance is best.
Good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's 6 a.m. on a beautiful breezy morning in the Twin Cities, 38 degrees.
Early mornings at the Minnesota Vikings practice facility are quite serene, the quiet calm before the storm of the players' arrival. It is the perfect setting for one man and his music. Head coach Dennis Green has a passion for jazz and R&B. He's got a drum set at home and one here at work. A few years ago, he decided it was important to somehow make the time in his schedule for his two loves, coaching and drumming. Like most NFL coaches, Green hosts a weekly television show where he analyzes the X's and O's of upcoming games.
Eyes never lie. 1, 2, 3.
But unlike the others, if his team wins, he jams in studio with the Sunset Music Band, a group with whom Coach Green has already recorded 3 CDs.
It's unusual, we think, that you find time to do this. You carve it in.
Well, it's part of my personality. If I was to only go football, 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 I probably would not have the kind of direction for the team that we need. They have to have a life also. They can't just do football 24 hours a day.
I'm wondering if there's a particular groove you like to get into that instantly takes you to relaxation.
Well, it depends. If you're in a funky mood, then it's... Now, if it's in a smooth mood, then it's...
Green's gusto for a good groove doesn't stop on stage. Once a month, he picks the hits as a guest jock on a local jazz radio show.
The sax player. We'll start with George Howard. It's called Until Tomorrow from his Home Far Away CD.
Green has written a number of his band's cuts, including the new Vikings fight song. Not only is Green the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, his fellow musicians see him as their own team leader.
I think the reason is because they can see me out there coaching that football team and say, if he's taking on that kind of responsibility, and that's the answer for them, or I guess they say if it's good enough for the state of Minnesota and the Vikings, if he says something, then maybe it might be good enough for us. I try to be really multifaceted. I work hard for football, but football is what I do. It's not what I am.
All right, well, while Coach Green says that he's no pro on the drums, you'd never know it by the company he keeps. One of Hollywood's best-known musicians has joined Coach Green on his next album. His name? Doc Severinsen. Isn't that something else? Mm-hmm. Now, I love this guy because he's known for his work ethic, and he carries over into everything he does, including bass fishing on Lake Minnetonka. Yes. Now, what's interesting is he refuses to use live bait because he says it's cheating.
That's not, hey, he's crazy. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. You ever use a big, juicy jerkworm? You can't beat him. I'm telling you, man.
You might as well just go to the grocery store and buy them then, Terry. He says it's the sport.
Sport, man, I'll tell you. Hey, you can't beat a juicy jerkworm.
Jerkworm. Well, he won't forget the lines. All right, folks, let's jerk it on around here and keep rolling. When the Kansas City Chiefs attack the Bills in Buffalo today, they'll be battling for more than just revenge of last year's AFC Championship loss. They'll have the added incentive of trying to attain Coach Marty Schottenheimer's 100th regular season victory, a feat accomplished by only 19 coaches. Now, speaking of history, Schottenheimer has never lost to Buffalo in the regular season. Sadly for KC fans, never beaten them in the playoffs. Fox's Eric Clemens is in Buffalo for that game that could be a turning point for both teams. Eric, how goes it, buddy?
It goes pretty well, JB. I tell you, I'm not sure I'm in Buffalo. Temperatures in the 60s and sunny in the end of October. Well, to the game at hand, though. The Chiefs' 960 yards of offense and 69 points the last couple of weeks means zip coming in here to Rich Stadium. They haven't won here since 1986. As for the struggling Bills, they haven't been 4-4 since the strike season of 1987. And so any way you slice it, this one comes up a huge contest.
It's a lot easier being 5-3 than it is being 4-4 because now everybody starts to look around and look at you and say, wait a minute, is this team now mediocre? And that sort of puts you in that boat. But, you know, you have to be willing to go out and lay it all on the line.
They don't think that we're good enough to represent the AFC. Well, they can say what they want to say here in Buffalo because they didn't do a good job themselves. I mean, being 4 times going there and coming out empty. So I think it's time for someone else, and I think we definitely, the team can carry the load.
Sounds like fighting words to me from Neil Smith. I don't know about you. Meanwhile, expect both teams to grind it out on the ground. The Bills were working at walkthroughs yesterday with a 2 tight end set, and Carwell Gardner moving out in motion a little bit. The Chiefs, coming off their best rushing performance in almost 2 years last week, want to keep it on the ground and open things up for Joe Montana. Injury situation, J.J. Burton is out. William White, who had that lacerated finger for the Chiefs in the secondary, expects to play today. That's a story from here. I can't wait for kickoff, JB. Now let's send it back to you in our Hollywood studio.
All right, Eric, and we'll be looking forward to it as well. And let me swing quickly to Howie here. You mentioned at the top of the season, Buffalo is at the end of its talent cycle. Is this an indication of it?
Yeah, I think so. But what you have is you have some great football players in Buffalo still. They haven't won the big game. Jim Kelly won 300-yard game in the last 33 games. But they say now he's healthy. His average has dropped steadily from 90 to 94, over 8 yards a throw to just a little over 6 yards a throw. Look for him to air it out and go deep today.
And to embellish that point on the lack of a deep passing game, only 1 play of 37 yards this season. Definitely atypical for Buffalo. All right, we'll get back to more on that a bit. Thank you, gentlemen. When we come back, we'll take a look at the rise and or fall of some NFL quarterbacks. Dave Brown started off like a house on fire. Now he's taking some heat for 4 straight losses. And Gus Frerotte, hey, after 1 game, he knows it was a good one, but he's keeping it very low-key.
They really have steamrolled into something huge. You know, I have only played 1 game, and I had a good game, and I had a lot of help from the guys around me. And, you know, I don't want people to really expect miracles now.
It was a good game indeed. You see the numbers there, and Terry Bradshaw says the thing he likes the most about young Frerotte, a very poised quarterback. Back with more after this. After warming up, you see Troy Aikman on the left there has decided not to use the mask that he has on there. And on the right side, Jeff Blake will be getting his first NFL start. The young man out of East Carolina now playing for the Bengals. Now, on paper, this matchup might seem like David versus Godzilla, but Bengal fans can take heart in the fact that Cincinnati is one of only 2 teams never to have lost to Dallas at home. Now, for Dallas, Troy Aikman, as we mentioned before, was sidelined by a concussion in last week's win over Arizona. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Troy is due to start today. Now, this was Troy's 6th concussion since high school. It's something he's thought a lot about and the effect that concussions could have on his long-term health. Before the season, he talked with our Lonnie Lardner about concussions and what he may have to do if they happen more frequently.
I think about Roger Staubach, who was forced to retire earlier than what he had planned because of concussions and things of that nature, and I just hope that it doesn't happen to me. I've had 4 or 5 concussions in my career already up to this point, none to the severity that I had against San Francisco, and I think if I were to have a few more of those, it would certainly stop and make me think about how important it was to continue playing.
Boy, he talked about that early on. Now, again, we passed along that game note there. Aikman not going to use that mask. Significant?
Oh, no. Let me tell you what. He's not going to use that mask, the new mask, to protect him. He's going to use his old mask. I'm going to tell you, one thing a quarterback doesn't want to do, he wants nothing in his way of vision. And these new masks get up, and I guarantee you, that bar, he sees that bar across there, and he doesn't like it. And don't be surprised if he takes that mouthpiece and slings that sucker into the stands, because he's not going to want anything in his mouth. So you got a hole in your mouth. Who cares? You want to be
but you need some protection there, right, with the mouthpiece?
No, not at all. Jimmy,
it's not basketball.
Let's go to, hey, Jimmy.
Listen to you guys.
Jimmy, would you start Troy, even though he did get knocked out last week?
Well, I would start him because Troy, you know, he was ready to go in last week. He said the hit wasn't that bad last week, and so he wants to start. But I guarantee you this, as a coach, I would give him a quick hook and put Rodney Peete in the ball game against Cincinnati.
Hey, Jimmy, how about Eric Williams? How significant of a loss is that for the Cowboys?
Well, I think that's a big loss. I think Eric Williams is a top offensive tackle in the entire league. And what he does, he keeps the big pass rushers out of Troy's face. And, you know, he's able to negate any top pass rusher over on that right-hand side. Just ask Reggie White.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. You know, Troy Aikman may want to retire with a concussion, but if you're not financially secure in the National Football League, you don't retire because of concussions. I wouldn't. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks would, JB.
Troy is pretty doggone secure.
$50 million.
Hey, here's another guy who's pretty secure as well, Randall Cunningham, who is leading the NFC's top-ranked offense into Washington today. However, cornerback Darrell Green might be the one Redskin happy to see Randall hit town. That's because Darrell has picked off 4 of Randall's passes already, making Cunningham his all-time favorite quarterback. Now, for the Redskins, 33-year-old Henry Ellard leads the NFL in receiving yards despite playing with 3 different quarterbacks, including 2 rookies, the latest of which is Gus "For Real" Farrat, whose 226 yards and 2 touchdowns gave him the best first start for a rookie in Redskin history. And boy, what a story Gus Farrat is. One day, Gus is a complete unknown. The next, his parents are appearing on national television. He was drafted in the 7th round, playing 3rd string behind the 3rd player selected overall, and he definitely has some Redskin fans talking about trading Heath Shuler. You got to love a guy who just last week was being called Gus who?
Now how does the rookie quarterback Gus Farrat respond?
Who do you want to be today? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be today? Do you want to be just like someone on TV?
Coach Turner told me that, you know, if you're doing well, he says, I'm going to leave you in there. You know, it could be 10 years, it could be 10 weeks.
Playing 10 years would make Gus Farrat the next Sonny Jurgensen. 10 weeks would recall the legendary one-game wonder Clint Longley. But at least for this week, Gus is the official NFL media darling.
It really has steamrolled into something huge, you know. I have only played 1 game, and I had a good game. You know, I don't want people to really expect miracles now. I just want to say...
But they do.
Yeah, they do.
You've been on all kinds of TV programs the past week. Has Larry King called you?
No, I've never heard from Larry King.
If Gus keeps playing the way he's been playing, I wouldn't be surprised to see him sitting in this chair sometime soon.
Neither Larry, Gus, nor the Philadelphia Eagles could believe the game films. The films show that the coach rarely challenged Farrat. For Gus, last week was almost a bye week.
I hardly got hit at all. And just to be, I mean, it was kind of like practice, you know, where everything's open, and that's what it felt like.
You're doing a good job, but of course, you know, we're gonna apply some different things to him and try and make him think a little bit more out there on the field.
When healthy, Heath Shuler and his $19 million contract return to battle Gus for the starter's job. But this week, as he gets to battle Philly's blitz, Gus has been handling the media blitz.
The one thing I told him, we got to make this week exactly like last week. Limit the things you do in terms of the outside things away from football so you can zero in on football.
Is it your job when you come back healthy, or will it be a competitive situation?
I'm sure it's going to depend upon how Gus does his next coming game. You know, if I look at it in the coaching standpoint and look at Gus's standpoint, I will say, hey, you know, I'm the one that's going to have to come in and fight back for the position.
Andy Warhol once said that everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. How much time is left on your clock?
I think more than me, I think my parents have got the 15 minutes of fame. They've been everywhere. I mean, you know, they're on Monday Night Football. They're on national TV. I think their 15 minutes of fame went in overtime.
Mom, Dad, the whole gang watching back in Fort Cliff, Pennsylvania were sky high. But even with the spotlight shining bright, Gus has the sense to understate his value. Gus, I understand that you're an avid card collector. What do you think a rookie Gus Farrat card will be worth right about now? What kind of price would it?
Oh, probably a quarter or something.
A quarter? That's all?
That's right. Just 1 game.
You know, the only thing I can find fault with him after 1 week, guess who his all-time hero is? Yeah, can you believe that? Terry Bradshaw. Unbelievable. All right, now with that in mind, let me ask you, is he a flash in the pan or is he for real?
Time will only tell if he's a flash in the pan. If you ask me to tell you what it is about him I like, I saw him in preseason game against Buffalo, and the thing stood out. He had great poise. To me, you got to have that as a young quarterback, or to be a great quarterback, you have to have poise. Number 2, he has a strong arm. He's a big kid, 6'3", 220. And he has command of the huddle. I talked to Henry Ellard, and how you love that he got in the huddle, and Ellard was telling him, you know, this and that, and he was saying, well, look, if I'm having trouble, I'm going to lay it out on the numbers for you. You stay in the number area. Already talking like a guy that really had command of the huddle. I like what he's doing, and the other thing is, emotionally, he seems to be stable. Doesn't get too high, doesn't appear to get too low, and believe me, he will need all of that today, because Bud Carson's team is going to challenge him like he has never seen before. Only zones when he played against the Colts. Jimmy, if in fact Farrat is the real thing in Washington, does this not put a lot of pressure now on your friend, head coach Norv Turner?
Well, no, if he's the real thing, I don't think he puts any pressure on Norv at all, because he's going to be winning games. You know, and Norv liked this guy from day one. You know, we were talking all the way through the season, and he liked Gus Farrat. Now, he likes Heath Shuler because of the athletic ability. But Schuler got the money because of athletic ability. And really, the guy that was prepared to go in the National Football League was Gus Frerotte because he was better coached in the NFL style of offense back in college by Dave Rader there at University of Tulsa. He was better prepared to go to the NFL than what Schuler was.
Keep in mind also, Gus Frerotte was a 5-year college player versus 3 years for Heath Schuler as well. All right, fellas, we'll come back and talk a bit more, but coming up next, a thoughtful look at the thin line between a great hit and a late hit. And the question everyone wants to know the answer to, can the rules preserve the spirit of the game as well as the health of its stars? Like that man there, Troy Aikman. Michael Irvin, 16.3 yards per catch, 34 catches and 3 touchdowns. Not a bad season, but guess what? He wants the ball more. The Eagles have the top offense and third best rushing attack in the National Football Conference. And welcome back to Fox NFL Sunday. In our RC Caller playbook, we look at the fine line between a legal and an illegal hit in the National Football League. Now, earlier we told you that the competition committee will consider whether to change the rule that is designed to protect the quarterback. We now head over to Fox Field where Terry and Howie will demonstrate.
Thank you, J.B. George, thank you very much. What is a pocket? What isn't a pocket determines whether or not a quarterback is fair game. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this. I am going to drop back in a pocket. Don't do that. 15 yards, man. Inside the tackles. When I set up inside the tackles, that is the quarterback's pocket. You can't touch me. Get away. You get thrown out of the game for doing that. I set up inside the tackle. I'm in the pocket. Now, where can you hit me? You can hit me at my legs. You can hit me in my chest. You can hit me everywhere you want to hit me, folks. But do not initiate the hit. Do not have the first one go to my head. That's 15 yards right off the spot. Now, when I'm in the passing position and my arm goes forward and the ball is now released, Howie has one step. In that one step, he had better make contact with me because when that second step hits the ground, if he touches me, got him. 15 yards. Ridiculous. You're out of here, Jack. Ridiculous. Now, when I get outside the tackles, I am now outside the pocket. And if I don't do anything but run with the football and look to throw it, I'm fair game. I'm just like a running back. Once again, you can hit me in my legs, hit me anywhere you want to hit me. Don't hit me in my pretty little face. Don't do that. No, no, no. Get you in a lot of trouble. But if I'm outside the tackles, which is outside the pocket, and I set up like a quarterback now, all the rules outside the pocket now apply as if I'm in the pocket. Once again, don't hit me in my head, first of all. We really are protected now, Howie.
Yeah.
It has to be frustrating.
The one thing we always talked about was do not go to the quarterback's head. We never really had a discussion about
Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that. And don't go for the knee. And the thing to me that's frustrating is because of the changes in the coverage rules with the bump, coverage equates to bringing people. It's forcing people to bring more people at the quarterback. How do you expect a Reggie White, 320 pounds, going 120 miles an hour to adjust his feet to line it up to one step, a half step?
You don't think about it, do you?
You don't think about it. I mean, I don't think you purposely think about it. I think the hits last week were indicative of Troy Aikman, and the hit to Jeff George down in Atlanta were indicative of the way football should be played. And I think they're changing the rules, and it's not going to benefit the game.
What are you taught? Always what? Never
hit the quarterback in the head.
That's right.
Exactly.
Get away. Don't you cheap shot me. All right, JD, come. Catch it. You got it? Take it away.
Terry's pretty little face. Can you believe that? When we come back, we'll share our weekly preview of other big games in the National Football League. And here getting ready for his big game is the Redskins' Henry Ellert, who leads the NFL with 788 receiving yards. The man is doing the job at age 33. Back in Hollywood after this. For the 1,000-yard mark for the 6th straight year, while Rodney Hampton is one of only 3 Giants to have rushed for more than 4,000 yards in his career. And for more on that game, let's go to John Madden at the Meadowlands. John?
Yeah, I think those running backs are going to be very important today because we have 2 young quarterbacks that are really struggling. You know, anytime a new quarterback starts or a quarterback starts for the first time, he's going to go through some tough times. Now, sometimes it's his first or second game. Sometimes they start off well, and then they start to struggle. And that's what we have here today. Both these quarterbacks, Scott Mitchell for Detroit, started off strong in preseason, played well in the preseason. They beat the Cowboys. They thought maybe we're going to dodge it. The Giants, they start off with Dave Brown. They're 3-0. They say, boy, we got through this one. There's no problems now. Then the problems started to come. So today we have 2 3-4 teams, 2 teams that both quarterbacks are struggling. Now, what is a struggling quarterback? Here's what happens. you're going along and you lose. Now you lose a little confidence. You lose a little confidence, you start to press. Then you start to press as a quarterback, and everyone around you starts to press. Then when you start to press, then you start to make mistakes. Then you start to make mistakes, and the coaches say, let's simplify it so we can eliminate the mistakes. Then you simplify the offense, then it's easier for the defense to play. So then you get predictable. Then you get to the point you say, hey, we're too predictable. We have to open this thing up. So that's where we are today. Two quarterbacks that are struggling, two offenses that are predictable, two teams that are 3 and 4. The good news is they're playing each other, so one of them today will come out of it. The other one will continue to struggle. Back to you guys.
All right, John, boy, he certainly has Detroit down pat, and the pressure is mounting in Detroit. I mean, Howie, what's your take on what's going on?
It's the civil offense. They can't seem to make up their mind on what kind of personnel they want to have. Last week, come with 2 tight ends, fullback Lorenzo Lynch. The quarterback goes 6 for 17. He's not throwing the ball well. They should have signed Eric Kramer for $4 or $5 million less. And that's not a knock on Mitchell. Mitchell's a young quarterback. He's inexperienced. To pay a guy like that $11 million. Now they're talking about simplifying the offense. And, Jimmy, I don't know if that's the answer. You see that as a sign of panic on Wayne Fontes' part, simplifying the offense?
Well, I really don't believe they're going to win any championships. You know, letting the quarterback throw for about 60 or 70 yards, 6 for 17, that's not going to do it. And we really don't know about Scott Mitchell. I think with the entire league, I think the most important position on the football team is the quarterback, and it's the most neglected position on the team. I think you really got to get somebody to work with that quarterback one-on-one. That's what Troy Aikman asked me to do my second year. That's when I hired Norv Turner, and then we started taking off offensively. I think it's important for everybody to assess the coaching of the quarterbacks in the National Football League.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting any coaching there, and I think it's the second time that Wayne Fontes has brought in a high-dollar Andre Ware, 8th the big contract there. Scott Mitchell's not playing well. Barry Sanders, 14 catches. Conversely, Marshall Faulk, 31 catches. They got to throw the ball more to Barry Sanders. When they've been successful, when they've gone into the playoffs, they've done it throwing the ball to Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders is the answer, but not just running the ball.
All right, and Jimmy continues to underscore the point of having somebody to work with that quarterback. All right, here's a quarterback who's been worked with. Dan Marino needs 349 yards to move ahead of Dan Fouts in the second place on the all-time passing list. And there's a pretty fair chance he'll get it done today when Miami played in New England, as you recall, back in Week 1. The NFL's top 2 offenses combined for 9 touchdown passes and 864 yards passing. That's the 3rd highest total ever. And consider this, the Patriots ranked 26th in pass defense. The Dolphins ranked 27th. Well, that's the situation in Foxborough. Time now to check out the rest of the scene in the NFL.
Check it out!
Jolted by their first loss, the Bolts host the Hawks. Natron means to bull his way to a 4th straight 100-yarder. He also leads the conference with 8 TDs. But lately, Stan hasn't been the man, with only 1 touchdown toss in 17 quarters. After 10 interceptions in Seattle's first 4 games, the Hawks have none in 3 straight losses. Cleveland flies into Denver's Mile High, riding their first 5-game win streak since '86. The Browns have scored first in every game and haven't given up 100 on the ground yet. Cleveland leads the league in fewest points allowed, while Denver ranks last in Team D and is still looking for its first home win. The embattled Raiders host the Oilers. Despite Harvey Williams' first 100-yard game, LA's running attack still ranks 13th in the AFC. But so does Houston's run defense. However, the Oilers can still deliver a blow. So thank an anemic offense for the Oilers' 1-6 start. There'll be magic in the air when the Colts meet the New York Jets. Jim Harbaugh, the AFC's number 2 quarterback, will sit and watch the Magic Man try to pull a W out of his hat. He'll face the New York D with a lot going for it. Ronnie leads the Jets with 69 forced landings. Welcome back to Hollywood, the NASDAQ stock market post-game report, and indeed a game winner with 23 seconds left wins it for the Eagles over the Washington Redskins, 31-29. Gus Frerotte, an impressive day. His parents came to watch him, Terry.
Washington played very well. Back in the pocket, a lot of poise. Ethan Horton over the middle. Safeties aren't there. They split, go 2 out. Touchdown pass. Now trying to ground the football. Actually, that's an incomplete pass. He slipped it. You could have ruled this either way. Even looked like a fumble. But the ref rules an incomplete pass.
Mistake here. Greg Jackson picks him off, Terry.
Picks him off. Down the sideline. Picks up a convoy of people all the way in. Another return. Turnovers. killing the Redskins in close football games, but a good job today by young Farad.
Von Hebron takes it for the Eagles as he bangs up 6 yards for the score. That made it 28-21 Philadelphia at that point. But Farad poised again, Terry.
Nice job. Play action, out in the right flat, touchdown pass. 3 touchdown passes on today, JB, for Farad. Going for 2.
Trying to tie it.
Can't find him. Everybody dropping deep. Can't get in there.
And here's the game winner. Eddie Murray boots home a 30-yard field goal, and Philadelphia escapes with a 31-29 victory over Washington, and that improves Philadelphia's record to 6-2, Terry. And Philadelphia, again, pulling that one out. Close ones over Washington in a consecutive string. Okay, moving to the Meadowlands right now. This game is in overtime as we take a look at the final there, Washington losing to Philadelphia. Overtime game, 25 apiece, and I tell you, Scott Mitchell have been having problems, but take a look at Dave Meggett.
Yeah, you know, if you're having trouble with your offense like young Dave Brown has had with the Giants, you need help defensively with turnovers and special teams. Dave Meggett on a punt. They thought they had him. The Lions, that is. Dave Meggett all the way, 56 yards, TD. Herman Moore up high, second touchdown catch on the day, a 1-yarder. He is 6 feet 4 inches tall, a mismatch.
Hey, Dave Brown under heat here, Terry, and you got to like the poise that he shows. Well, they said he was juggling the ball, but then they overruled it. It was, in fact, a touchdown. Dan Reeves, obviously not too thrilled. But Dave Brown, again, we mentioned, under a little heat, but he showed some poise.
You know, it's very hard to stand in there on the 12-yard line and gun passes into the end zone. But if you're going to score down here, you have to have a strong arm. Brown does, finds Pierce. Pierce sets down, and then Brown guns it in there. I thought Dave Brown, so far in this game, has played well. Even though he had the interception, he has played well.
Simplified the game plan. He executed well right now. That one is in overtime and is tied at 25 apiece. We may have an opportunity to give you a taste of that game. Stick around and we'll find out what happens. In Cincinnati today, the Bengals gave the Cowboys all they could handle. The Cowboys finally eked this one out by the margin of a field goal. Troy Aikman banged up going in. Cincinnati got him early.
Got him going early. Jeff Blake, 67-yarder. Down the middle, Darnay Scott, second-round draft choice out of San Diego State. If you're going to beat the Cowboys, forget about high percentage and throw the ball deep. That's your best chance. Blake, fearless. They have no book on this guy. They don't know what he can do. Folks, he can throw it from end to end. There's Darnay Scott again. This one's 55 yards and another Cincinnati Bengals touchdown.
Bad hit here by James Francis on Troy Aikman.
We talked about this on the pregame show about the quarterbacks and where you can't hit them, folks. You can't hit them with the crown of your helmet. You're going to get penalized 15. That was a 4th down that gave the Cowboys life. Michael Irvin, alley-oop in the end zone. That gives the Cowboys also a touchdown. But that was a big play. If Francis does not hit Troy, but goes ahead and makes the sack on him, that's not a 4th. I mean, that's a turn the ball over. You got a 1st down Cincinnati as it is. They turn around and throw the touchdown pass to Michael Irvin.
Cost Cincinnati big, and of course, when Barry Switzer wiped his forehead, case in point, 23-20 win by Dallas there. Okay, and a game between Buffalo and Kansas City. This game is still going on. Buffalo having no problems with the Chiefs, 44-10. And I go back to Howie again. We talked about this early on. You were the clairvoyant. You said that Buffalo would win this one, obviously handily so right now. What gave you that confidence?
Well, Jim Kelly seems to be healthy. I think it's indicative in his numbers. His yardage per throw has been down steadily from 90 through 94 to just a little over 6 yards. He's taken 2 weeks off. And, Terry, I don't know, when your arm is sore, maybe you can tell me as a quarterback, it's obviously helped Jim Kelly.
We had tendonitis, Howie, and when you rest it, then the pain goes away, and you have a fresh, lively arm today. And we saw him coming out, bombs away 4 touchdown passes with only 6 coming into this game.
Wow, 4 touchdowns, 14 of 22 for 184 yards for Jim Kelly, who finishes up the day. And 44-10, the Bills win that one big. We'll continue with the NASDAQ Stock Market Postgame Report from here in Hollywood after this.
Pregame show. Hey, maybe they left you some tickets.
All sold out and nowhere to go.
No respect. But Dion gets his when he takes his primetime show on the road as the Niners battle the Redskins. Neon. Coverage begins 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
If I mow it, they will play on it.
All right, back here in Hollywood with the NASDAQ Stock Market Postgame Report. We will get a taste of that New York Giants game with the Lions. Lions have the ball at their own 47. They are driving. The game is tied at 25 apiece in overtime. 10:02, let's take you to Pat Summerall.
Overtime. Mitchell gives to Sanders. Sanders Gets to the outside. Sanders out of bounds at about the Giants 36. We're in overtime, tied at 25 at Giants Stadium.
You know, he does all the things, Pat, that every other running back wants to do, but he makes it look easier than most. I mean, watch this run. He's going to come up, and he's going to come in here, and then he's going to take it to the outside. And he starts to the left, then goes to the middle, then runs all the way outside the right end. I mean, he not only has moves, but he has quickness and can do things that, I mean, you can't even imagine.
And you can stop him all day, and then all of a sudden something happens.
Maybe sometimes you just let him run and get tired out so he takes himself out of the game like now.
Which he just did. Mitchell to Moore. Herman Moore took a shot in the face, but he's not down yet. Moore down to about the 8-yard line. Finally stopped by Thomas Randolph.
As you said, Jarvis Williams comes up. Watch number 26 right there. I mean, he really gives him a shot. Herman Moore looks like his knee was down, but I guess he wasn't touched, and then he got back up and kept going.
Touched. He was hit in the face. He got back up. His knee was down. The ball was down.
Yeah, but I guess the whistle didn't blow. I mean, watch Jarvis Williams. He just unloads there, and he knocks him down. He knocks him down to his knee. But again, if the whistle doesn't blow, they just keep playing.
I think that surprised everybody, Herman Moore included, but he had presence of mind enough to keep going. 25-25 tie, the Lions down in field goal range.
Okay, we see Dan Reeves there looking again. The score is tied between the Lions and Giants at 25 apiece in overtime. The Lions have it. And Terry, as you mentioned before, the Lions got a big break on that call there.
Yeah, they did. Herman Moore made the catch. There was the big hit by the safety. He went down. His knee went down. He should have been down right there. If, in fact, the Lions go on and score on a touchdown or a field goal, makes no difference. They win this football game. You got to know that Dan Reeves is going to scream and holler about that call.
Okay. And again, you were talking about Detroit cutting down the number of plays. Apparently pretty effective in that they're in this situation.
Yeah, but it's not a good Giants football team. Detroit should be stepping up. It shouldn't have that much problem with the Giants. Last week, same thing. Brown with his knee down. Say it's a fumble. It's not cross. Drops the ball. Giants can't get a break.
Okay, we'll take you back out to the Meadowlands for that game. Right now, the Lions do have it. And again, the score is tied at 25 apiece with 8:57 left in the ball game, as the Lions are trying to put themselves in position for a field goal. And we rejoin Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Oh, but the hash marks are almost in the middle of the field to begin with. The angles are not what they once were.
And that's all, because it was a first down quarterback sneak, so you would just imagine that they just tried to get it as perfect for the kicker as they can.
But they should be back down at the 34, 35-yard line, wherever Herman Moore was hit. The ball should have been dead there. Timeout. The Giants. And that's all of theirs. There have been some calls today I'm not sure about.
Yeah, and, you know, they're going to have some explaining to do on some of those calls. Yeah, Dan Reeves has, gone through a lot on that side today, as has Wayne Fox. I mean, the Lions stayed in there and battled them. I mean, they did that. They're on the road, and it's tough. They're 3-4, and everyone was kind of getting down on them, but they did hang in there. They hung in there and battled, and the Giants hung in and battled. There's that big play was that Barry Sanders run, and then that set up that Herman Moore play
which was...
Wonder why he wasn't down.
Yeah. As the closest official said he was juggling the ball, he was overruled. They gave the Lions a touchdown. They didn't give it to him. They earned a touchdown. A big, long run by Barry Sanders, caught by, as you said, Thomas Randolph, and then the touchdown. And now this call on Herman Moore. Questionable at best. Here's Hansen for the field goal that will win it for Detroit from 25 yards away. Montgomery to hold it. The snap. Kick is up. Game's over. 28-25. The Lions over the Giants.
So the Detroit Lions come away victorious in overtime, 28-25 over the Giants. The third overtime victory this season for the Lions, and that is an NFL record. 3 of the Lions' 4 victories this year. Overtime, the Lions now improved to 4-4. And we'll be back with more from Hollywood after this. Around the NFL, Minnesota Vikings are leading the Bucs. That game is being played in Tampa Bay by 10. New England and Miami, the rematch of a high-scoring affair from earlier in the year. No score early in that contest. The Jets in Indianapolis taking place in Indianapolis, and the Colts are leading that one by the score of 14-0. Floyd Turner, 14-yard touchdown reception from the Magic Man, Don Mikowski. San Diego and Seattle, another late game taking place just underway, and no score there. Cleveland and Denver. The Cleveland Browns are taking a 6-1 record into Denver. Denver, of course, coming off of the victory last week over San Diego. No score in that contest. And the L.A. Raiders are playing host to the Houston Oilers. The Raiders are on top right now. The score there by a touchdown. And as I turn to my colleagues, again, last week we talked a lot about the Raiders' controversy and turmoil there. Are you expecting your old teammate to really keep it going from this point forward?
Yeah, I think so. This is the team that I think has the best shot to really turn it around the second half of the year. There have been some surprises in the first half of the year. Cleveland, a big surprise. I think the Raiders have the talent to turn this thing around, and they could surface as one of the front runners once again in the AFC.
You know, when I think about the Cleveland Browns, again, they have an impressive record. Do you think folks really believe and are convinced that they are for real as well,
Oh, I think the record indicates they're for real. Look, today's game's a big game. I happen to think the Denver Broncos are starting to play good football now, and I'm not real sold yet on Vinny Testaverde as a championship
My guy
quarterback.
Vinny, come on.
Come on. Hey.
My guy.
We'll see what happens to him. Okay, folks. And a reminder of the lineup coming your way right here tonight on Fox TV. Halloween is just a day away, and to get you in the spirit, The Simpsons are bringing you a 2-hour scare-a-thon tonight, beginning at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. That'll be followed by brand new episodes of Married with Children and The George Carlin Show. It's all part of Fox's Halloween Bash coming your way tonight. And we'd like to thank you very much for watching the NASDAQ postgame report. For Terry, Howie, I'm James Brown, and thanks for watching. We'll leave you now with some of the great plays and the day, of course, the people who helped to bring this day to you. We'll see you, as Scott Atkinson says, have the best of weeks coming up next week. See you next week.